Hi, I'm Natalie, and I'm from Texas. My parents always wanted another kid, but it just wasn't meant to be. I was their only beloved daughter, and I was more than fine with it. I always listened to Mom and Dad, even when they told me to stay away from our neighbor, Matthew. Our families seemed to come from different worlds. All my relatives graduated from college and had good manners. Meanwhile, Matthew's family looked like some sort of rock band. Our fathers didn't get along and fought like cats and dogs. Matthew and I hated each other's guts ever since we were kids. I never understood why all the girls at school were pining for him. Matthew is so hot and tough. I love him. You wouldn't be saying that if he was your neighbor. Living next door to Matthew was hell. Our windows faced each other. He often turned on loud music, even though he knew it was bothering me. Quit grimacing. It's great music. Don't peek into my room. Why would I spy on you? You're not my type. I've had it with you. Other than that, my life was perfect like a Saturday morning. At least until my parents told me something that turned my life on its head. Natalie, I'm pregnant. You're going to be an older sister soon. Are you happy? Yeah, I'm over the moon. It was probably clear by my face how upset I was. I hated the thought of fighting for my parents' attention with a toddler. Mom and Dad left to call our relatives and tell them the good news, and I flopped down on my bed dejectedly. Please, let this be a nightmare. But it was happening for real. There was nothing I could do but accept it. The amateur theater I played in was staging Romeo and Juliet, a Shakespeare play about the tragic love of a girl and boy from feuding families. I tried to focus on the script and memorize my lines, but I kept getting distracted by various noises. Matthew was loudly arguing with his father about something, and my parents were doing repairs in the room next to mine to prepare for the baby. My brain is gonna leak out of my ears! I need some peace and quiet. I remembered a tree house that wasn't far from our house. I didn't know who'd built it, but it had been sitting abandoned for many years, so I decided to go there. Once I got there, I went back to reading the script, but then Matthew peeked into the house. Hey, get lost! I got here first! This house doesn't belong to anyone, so don't tell me what to do. I need some peace and quiet too. What do you have there? It's none of your business. Give it back! Matthew grabbed my script and I tried to snatch it back. While we fought, we fell against the wall and accidentally tore off some old poster. There were words behind it someone had scratched into the wall years ago. Dog and cat. Friends forever. Those were probably nicknames of the people who'd built the treehouse. What do you think became of them now? Do I look like I care? Then he grumbled that he'd find another hiding place and jumped back down. Hasn't that moron ever heard of stairs? I can hear you. I can hear you. I'm so cool. A couple of hours later, I came back home and saw a love letter on our porch. When would he back off? I crumpled the envelope and I rolled my eyes. The thing was, a boy called Donald had a huge crush on me and kept asking me out. I told him we would never become an item because he was 2 years younger than me. But Donald was stubborn as a mule. He'd been bombarding me with love letters for months by that point. Before leaving for the theater the next morning, I reminded my parents that I had an important performance that day. We remember, sweetie. We wouldn't miss your performance for the world. As I was leaving, I saw Matthew storming out of his house. His father appeared in the doorway and shouted after him, "You're my son. You will do as I say." Matthew didn't even turn around. Some cute girl was waiting for him, and they walked away together. Could that be his girlfriend? I wondered why he was fighting with his dad again, but there was no one I could ask about it. After all, Matthew and I were hardly friends, and I wasn't gonna have a heart-to-heart with him. Our troupe was getting ready for the upcoming performance. At some point, I was left on stage all alone, and I heard a suspicious creaking sound. The building we were in was ancient, and there were even rumors it was haunted. But I didn't believe in nonsense like that. The sound was coming from the attic. I went up there, carefully opened the door, and saw someone worse than a ghost. Matthew was sitting there with his girlfriend. When he saw me, he went ballistic. Why do you keep coming to my hiding places? Are you stalking me or something? Don't flatter yourself. We're gonna perform soon, so find another place for your date. I kicked the lovebirds out and I went back to the stage. Soon, our performance began and I transformed into Juliet. Why are you named Romeo? Disown your family and refuse your name. I wanted to make my parents proud, but when I looked at the audience, I realized that their seats were empty. Preparing for the birth of a baby was more important to them than me. I would never again be my parents' top priority. There was a scene in the play where I had to cry, and that day, my tears were real. After the performance came to an end, I changed my clothes and saw a text from my mom. Natalie, sorry, we're not coming to your play. I need to go to the hospital and run some tests to make sure that the baby is all right. Why wasn't I surprised? The child hadn't even been born yet, but my parents had already forgotten about me. Pissed off, I went outside. Donald was waiting for me there. He handed me a drawing of flowers. How sweet of you. I drew them myself. Sorry, I know I don't have the money for a real bouquet. Donald, do your parents know that you're out this late? I'm an adult. I can do whatever I want. Yeah, right. Run home before they ground you. Hey, haven't I earned a kiss from my girlfriend? How many times do I have to say? I'm not your girlfriend. Find someone your own age. To be honest, I didn't want to go home, so I climbed up to the abandoned treehouse again. I was eating an apple with my legs dangling down, feeling miserable. Eventually, I threw the apple core down and it fell right on Matthew's head. He happened to be passing by at the worst possible moment. Ow, what the heck? He looked up and looked like he was about to pounce on me, but he changed his mind when he noticed the tears streaming down my face. Why are you crying like a girl? I am a girl, genius. That's none of your business. Go away. But Matthew wouldn't be Matthew if he did what he was asked. He quickly climbed up and plopped down next to me. Don't you want to go home? Why? Do you suddenly care? I asked, didn't I? Jeez, okay. I've been fighting with my parents. Well, you happy now? I thought Matthew would say something sarcastic as usual, but to my surprise, he sighed sympathetically. I get that. My parents drive me crazy sometimes. Are you having trouble at home too? I've heard you arguing with your dad lately. Yeah, there's something he won't let me do. He thinks I'm not good enough. Let me guess, he forbids you from dating that girl? You mean Gwen? Yeah, you guessed it. A sly smile suddenly appeared on his lips. Natalie, let's prank our parents. They hate each other. What would they do if we became an item? Not for real, obviously. Are you kidding me? If my dad sees us together, he'll go berserk. My dad will too. Our parents would let us do anything as long as we broke up. I didn't really want to agree to something like that, but then I got yet another text from Donald. That gave me the push I needed. Okay, let's prank everyone. Maybe little Donald will give up if he thinks I'm going out with you. Our parents were fighting as usual when Matthew and I walked up to them holding hands. Surprise! Guess who's dating now? Oh, you should have seen their faces. I thought they'd explode like pressure cookers. They pulled us apart and dragged us to our homes. I didn't know what happened to Matthew, but my parents gave me the scolding of a lifetime. Natalie, we've been telling you to stay away from Matthew your whole life. How could you do that? I did it because you stopped paying attention to me. Sweetie, this is a difficult period for all of us. Be patient for a while. Be patient? After the baby's born, I'll always come second. With those words, I stormed outside. At the same moment, Matthew came out of his house. He looked gloomier than ever. Did they scold you too? Yeah, our plan failed. I want to be alone for a while. He got on his scooter. I surprised both of us when I came up to him and asked, "Can I come with you?" "Do you want to?" "Okay, get on." The two of us rode the scooter through the evening city. The sunset painted the sky a delicate pink. I turned my face to the warm wind and tried to forget about all my problems. Soon, we reached a small park and sat on the swings. As luck would have it, Donald soon appeared. Ugh, it's him again. An admirer of yours? Yes, I don't know how to get rid of him. To my surprise, Matthew took my hand and laughed sweetly. I immediately realized what he was up to and I played along. From the outside, we looked like a flirting couple. Donald frowned at us and left. I felt so warm sitting next to Matthew. I didn't want the moment to end. Donald's left. You can let go. Besides, if your girlfriend saw us, wouldn't she get mad? My girlfriend? Right, my girlfriend. We were silent for a moment, and then Matthew turned back to me. So, you want to become an actress? Yeah, I want to perform at a theater. Well, if you ever perform on Broadway, don't forget to invite me to the premiere. Psst. In case you didn't know, Broadway is an awesome theater district in New York. It's famous all over the world. Hit that like button if you liked this interesting fact. No way. All my fans would lose it if they saw you and wouldn't even look at me anymore. For some reason, all the girls are crazy about you. Not all of them. He gave me a sly look and smiled mysteriously. The next moment, we heard meowing in the bushes. We peeked in there and saw a stray cat who was affectionately licking her kittens. Wow, so tiny. They must have just been born. We should bring them to an animal shelter. I was pleasantly surprised by Matthew's kindness. That day, I started seeing him in a new light. It was so weird. We'd been neighbors for years, but we didn't really know each other. The shelter employee thanked us for not abandoning the animals on the street and asked if we wanted to adopt a kitten each. I chose an orange one and named him Peach. But Matthew… What? No, I wouldn't know what to do with it. Come on, it's like getting a new friend. That one's looking at you, see? Okay, I guess. But he should have a cool name, like Terminator. Soon, Matthew and Terminator went home. Peaches and I did too. I couldn't meet my parents' eyes when I showed them the kitten. When I saw the cat taking care of her kittens, I realized how selfish I was being. Mom, Dad, I'm glad that I'm gonna have a sibling. You're going to be an amazing older sister, Natalie. Just because we're having another child doesn't mean you aren't important to us. We love you, baby. We hugged, and I went up to my room. Before going to bed, I came up to the window to close it and saw Matthew sleeping in his room. He was cuddling Terminator. Aw, that's so sweet. I guess it didn't take long, huh? I broke into a smile, but then I shook my head sharply. Oh no, I couldn't fall for Matthew like all the other girls. Besides, he had Gwen. I told myself to forget about him and went to bed. The next morning, I was sitting on the porch and petting Peach and reading a new script when Gwen came up to me and handed me some notebooks. Hi, I came to see Matthew, but he's not at home. Could you get him these notes? Don't you know where your boyfriend is? Boyfriend? We're not dating. I'm Matthew's chemistry tutor. She left with a smile, and I went to the treehouse feeling confused. I was sure I'd find Matthew there. As soon as I got up, he tried to hide a textbook from me. Gwen asked me to give you this. If she's not your girlfriend, then what did your father forbid you from doing? Promise you won't laugh. I told my dad I wanted to go to college, but he said I wasn't good enough for that. We're a family of losers. You'll end up working as a mechanic in an auto repair shop just like me. No, I'll prove you wrong. That's why I was looking for a quiet place to improve my academic performance and go to college, and to prove my father wrong. Matthew's words left me speechless. His dad really pissed me off. How could he say that to his own son? Later, I cornered the man and I asked him why he didn't believe in his son. It's not that I don't believe in him, Natalie. It's just, if Matthew believes in a dream and fails, it'll break his heart. That's what happened to me. I once had a best friend. He managed to get into college, but I didn't. Soon, he got a swollen head and we became enemies. At that moment, I noticed a small dog tattoo on his arm. My dad had a cat tattoo at the same place. A dog and a cat. Had our parents built that treehouse and then had a falling out? I immediately told Matthew about my suspicions. That explains a lot. I have an idea. We didn't tell our dads much and dragged them to the treehouse. When they saw each other, they frowned and tried to leave. But we didn't let them. You need to talk and leave your grudges in the past. Can't you see that we, your children, are suffering because of them? You've always pitted Matthew and I against each other. We could have been best friends, but we've spent our entire lives fighting because of you. Our fathers looked guilty when they heard that and agreed to talk things through like adults. Come on, Matthew, let's go give them some privacy. It seemed like our plan had worked. That evening, Matthew came up to his window and waved at me. After they made up, my dad finally said I can achieve whatever I want. I'm so happy for you. And Matthew? Yes? I wanted to tell him how much I liked him, but I chickened out. Good night. Oh, good night, Natalie. Guess what? Soon, I found another love letter on the porch. Dang it, Donald was probably at it again. When is he gonna get it through his head? I will never like him. I crumpled the envelope, put it in my pocket, and knocked on Matthew's door to invite him to my new play. To my shock, he slammed the door in my face. I asked him what was wrong, but he ignored me. Before the performance began, I peeked out from behind the curtains and saw that my mom and dad and Matthew's parents had come. I was happy our families had made up. Unfortunately, Matthew was still mad at me from something. At that moment, I heard a familiar rustle come from the attic. Matthew? I was just leaving. No, wait. Tell me what's wrong. Can't you guess? I bared my soul to you in that letter, but you rejected me. Wait, you left it? I thought it was Donald. I immediately found the envelope in my pocket and I read the letter. Natalie, I've always liked you, but I didn't think I was good enough for you. Oh, Matthew, if you only knew how many times I've tried to pluck up the courage to confess to you. Instead of saying anything, he leaned in and kissed me. For a moment, the dusty attic turned into the most romantic place in the world. I felt like everything was gonna be all right. And that's it. Are you wondering what happened to Donald after that? He finally finally realized he was still too young for a relationship. Tell me, have you had your first kiss yet? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the new private diary episode!